Hello friends, there's a comment that I would like to make about certain claim that is the lie of the century that was declared yesterday by none other than liar Putin. He said, and I quote, that he will not attack NATO. Now, first of all, let me say that if you believe this guy and hesitate and lay back and relax and lower your guard and abandon your caution, you're making a fatal mistake when dealing with this Putin of Moscow and his regime for that matter. There's a history of that, right? What is the history of that? The Minsk agreement, right? Remember, Minsk agreement with Ukraine. They stripped Ukraine of its nuclear weapons and so on and so forth, and they signed an agreement saying that they won't attack Ukraine. But what did they do? They installed a dictator. That dictator was eventually driven by the Ukrainians, expelled, if you will. He ran off to Moscow, right? I forget his name. That's prior to Poroshenko, I believe, before Poroshenko maybe, right? But during the demonstrations, they shot a number of demonstrators, right? It's a dictatorship. It's a totalitarianism. I don't recall the number, but I think it's about 80, perhaps maybe more. I think more, right? And then it was progressing into a totalitarianism or be part of the Soviet Union. That said, there's more. He and his half-father or brother, older brother, Boris Yeltsin, signed an agreement with Chechnya. And what did they do? It was supposed to be like Chechnyans were supposed to wait 5 years to declare independence. What did they do? They attacked Chechnya. This particular Putin, killing no less than 250,000 civilians in the capital, Grozny. He shelled it basically and killed 250,000. Notwithstanding what he did in Ukraine, razing whole cities to the ground, Mariupol, Bucha massacre, and so on and so forth. And millions of Ukrainians were made into refugees. They're all over the world now, right? Right. Let's see. I got a whole list of history to make about this guy. So that's Chechnya, and that's Minsk. And what else? He went to Syria, right? To protect a dictator, a butcher. I mean, the dictators of Syria, they rival Stalin or even worse, right? What did he do, right? He used to make agreements. This you didn't hear of, right? He used to make agreements, right? Agreements with, so there's this city or sections of the city, and the regime was basically teetering, it was hanging by a thread, it was breathing its last, right? When Putin intervened and murdered, basically, the regime murdered millions, and Putin comes and murders millions more. But what he did, and you didn't hear of, he used to write an agreement with certain neighborhood or quarter or section of the city, right, with the resistant movement, right? Those majority wanted to evict the hierarchy and despotism and atrocities, you know, carried out, or you know, the regime that committed atrocities for decades, right? And he used to write an agreement and broker a ceasefire and so on, and they would underwrite it, right? The Russians would. They would go to the next neighborhood, right? Destroy it completely by airplanes, and then they would come back, right, to that section which they brokered a ceasefire agreement with, or some kind of a reconciliation or whatever it is, right? And what would they do? As if no agreement was signed, and they would destroy that neighborhood. He did that probably 1,000 times in Syria, right? Based on divide and conquer. You can shake this guy's hand all you want. You can listen to him talk all you want. You can. This guy understands nothing, folks, but force. And not just that, it has to be effective. He will only honor his agreement if he's forced into it And yet he will wait for, he's an opportunist. He will wait for an opportunity to renege on his agreement and stab you in the back, right? After the war, Finland and Sweden. He threatened them, right? He threatened them if they joined NATO, he would attack them. I tell you what, folks, they were on his dish, on his menu, right? Way before he even attacked Ukraine. Listen to that, right? This guy's mentality is that mentality of Ayatollah, of Assad, or the donkey, or you name it, folks, of Stalin and so on. This guy doesn't understand handshakes or agreements or honor your agreements and so on. He bought time in Ukraine. When he signed the agreement, Minsk agreement, Ukrainians just kicked back and relaxed. Otherwise, if they knew he was coming again, they would have developed their weapons, right, or their arsenal and military hardware. They started producing military hardware. But with that agreement, false agreement, he guaranteed that they would sit back and relax. And that was, to be honest with you, back then you may have considered it to be the right decision. Why? Because you just don't want to go into wars and so on. Ukraine is a peaceful country. Why would they want to, if they're Nazis, right? If they're Nazis, why would they want to give up their nuclear weapons? Why would they sit back and relax and, look out for their own progress and safety of their citizens and so on and so forth? If they were Nazis. If they were Nazis, believe me, they wouldn't have given up their weapons in that Minsk agreement. So he threatened Sweden and Finland, right? What makes you so sure? He's changed his mind. You may say, well, he lost the war in Ukraine, right? Even though he's still in Ukraine, he lost the war in Ukraine. This guy and his regime is going to try to regroup and come back again, folks. This guy is coming in. Where is it you don't understand? You are making a fatal mistake not engaging him now. Not engaging him now in Ukraine. You are making the biggest and most the worst mistake you could ever do in your history. You are committing now. What are you waiting on? For him to be on your border in Sweden? If he makes it to your border, he will have made made a lot of gains by then. By the time he's on your borders, yeah, he's on the roll. You can't stop him then. You have to stop him now in Ukraine. And if he attacks the Baltics and Finland, you can't wait until he is on your border. So you have to attack him now. You have to go stand up for him now. And the Ukrainian front is hot. This is where you get him busy. This is where you fight him. You don't wait until he's attacking other NATO countries. Look, this is a lie, folks. This is a lie. If you believe this guy has... Look, he blames Ukraine openly, right? That he's fighting on Ukraine with a war. He's fighting a war with Ukraine that he didn't want. Really? I remember him when he made that decision. He listened to all his generals and his his minions. That house of deranged and psychotics, right? If you recall, he even dressed down his intelligence chief for disagreeing about certain things. I think Crimea. Do you remember when he dressed him down and basically humiliated him in public for saying that Crimea was not part of Russia? Do you remember that? And he said he made that decision. Yet he accuses Ukraine of starting the war. Ukraine didn't start that war. We all know that. Even his or sidekick, Lavrov in India, he was speaking before a body of students in a certain university or institute or something. And he said that Ukraine started this war and everybody broke out laughing, right? And he was looking right and left. How could he say something like that? Everybody knows he's a liar when he says Ukraine started that war. It is he and his regime that started that war against Ukraine. Make no mistake about that. If he is lying about that, what else could he be lying about? This guy is in trouble in Ukraine. He's just trying to save himself so he can regroup and come back. And then, you know what? You may say, but he's busy in Ukraine, right? So he won't touch the Baltic. No, folks. This guy is going to try to reach the low-hanging fruit. And I'm looking at the Baltics, and I'm thinking that the guy has his eye on it. Believe it or not. You cannot afford to trust this guy. You cannot just take whatever he says and throw it in the trash and do what you have to do for your future. Some of you may say, look, the West is struggling. You know, it's having problems, social, economical. You name it, right? Society is almost sick, right? You know, you got like family is broken down, is breaking down, drugs, you know, things of the sort. You can, and I agree with you. You know, like the Western societies is not an example, and it's not the best. That's for sure, right? I live here in America, and I know what it is. I've lived here since 1981, and I know what it is, right? And I can tell you this. You know, this society is dysfunctional. To saying this, I'm being politically correct, right? But believe me, what's coming from the east is harder, folks. Imagine Lenin and Stalin and all those billions of theirs, and what will they commit against you, and so on and so forth. Once they come, these guys don't leave. You understand? So that's what he says, right? He threatens Finland and Sweden. But the problem with you Europeans, I think you understand all that I say, and you've verified it, right? You know his criticism of Anglo-Saxons, and he wants Eurasians to come in, you know, make Eurasia out of Europe and so on. Dugin said that in a seminar, and Blinken was attending that seminar. Go dig it up and find it and listen to it again. He says, quotely, he's preferring Eurasians, right? You know, like he wants to make Eurasia out of Europe. Maybe not exact same words, but that's what he's doing. And not too long ago, and it's on UA TV, Lavrov, speaking in Russian, criticized Anglo-Saxons. These guys are after you, folks, after you as a nation, as a race, as a country that existed for thousands of years, as societies, as whatever values you have and whatever wealth you have, knowledge, technology, you name it. They envy you, folks. They envy you. Russia has not produced, if you look at the scientific part of the world, you know, science, you know, when it began in the heart of Islam, right? Until now, right? Science, technology, you name it. They contributed nothing to anybody else. In fact, all that they have is stolen. Everything they have is stolen. Except the only thing they produce to the world is communism, despotism, gulags, bad indoctrinations, and looseness of ethics, and all they bring is just animalism, right? You know, they convert humans into animals. They don't like this civilization, humanity, neighbor, family, ethics, rule of law, and so on. They don't like that, folks. These guys, that Putin world, the Assad, the Putin, and the Ayatollahs, and Xi Jinping of China, right? And Pol Pot, and Mao Zedong, and Castro, and Pinochet, and now in Libya, and Algeria, and Yemen, and Africa, and Somalia, and here and there, and Chechnya, and all they bring is a bunch of animals, folks. That's all they care for. They don't care about society. It's been 60 years since they took over Cuba. How is Cuba living? There's that 10% that lives utopia, and there's the 90% that lives dystopia. For them, there's a small utopia that is the core of dystopia. And guess what? Guess what? What do you think is going to happen to you in Sweden? You think they consider you better than the Sunnis of the Middle East or the Cubans? Come on, folks. What is it you don't understand about this? There's something else I want to tell you. You know, people say, and this is by way of observing and hearing and listening to Trump. He wants to get out of NATO, right? Meaningly, he wants to mess it up and loosen it, right? But if that's all he wants to do, then maybe that's okay. Why? Because NATO countries can take care of themselves. At least they manufacture advanced weapons and so on, right? But no, the plan is far worse than that, folks. When, if, and when, that's big if, right? If Trump comes back into the White House, what do you think is going to happen? He and Putin, and above them Netanyahu, and along with Ayatollah and Xi Jinping, and maybe new Pol Pots and Castros and whatnot, and they have a lot of hidden hands in Western Europe. They are coming, and Trump included, right? Trump will assist Russia with maximum overdrive, right? They are coming to destroy this NATO, folks. They're just not talking about it. They are coming to destroy this NATO. They are coming to destroy the European society. Trump is in on this plan and this plot. You can bet your money on that. Where is it? Where is it? You guys don't see the danger and the horror and the size of the problem that's crawling your way from the east, right? Look what he did to my own country of, I was born in Syria and raised in Syria until I was 18, and I left in 1980, right? Look what he done to it, right? Right now, it's a shadow of what it was. The 85% majority Sunnis, they're gone, right? In the regime area, in the area of the regime, and you got all, all kind of people there, like educated people and so on. Now they live in tents, right? And people from the UN who helped that monster Assad, right, or donkey, right? They throw them food, something like that. They don't even give them food anymore, right? 85%, something like 18 million, right? Were either killed, millions were killed, millions disappeared, millions were no less than 15 million. Millions were made refugees in neighboring countries and here and there, right? You think, you blame your immigration, right? The immigration problem in northwestern Europe or in Europe in general. You blame it on those immigrants and Muslims. Muslims have nothing to do with it, folks. These people are coming to your countries because there are dictators, despots, butchers like Assad, like in Africa, like in Russia, like here and there. That's why these people are flocking and flooding your country. Why? Because they think it's a better a chance for life. It's a better life. Some freedom, better living standards, and so on. But what do you think Putin is going to do? Oh, he's going to make you speak Chinese in no time at all. By Allah, I kid you not. By Allah, the plan for northwestern Europe is hard, folks. And you got your chance. You should thank those Ukrainians, heroes, that are fighting on the front for holding back that tide, that red tide that is ugly, that's as bad as it gets. I don't know what else to say, folks. Trump and Putin and so on, they're not just going to allow, they're not going to cause NATO to crumble or disband or disappear from the face of the earth. No, 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 no. The plan is not just this. Suppose Trump came back into the White House and he assisted Putin to the fullest, to the maximum overdrive, right? What do you think NATO is going to do? I really hope you reconsider, folks, and don't believe this big liar, this hypocrite, this animal called Putin and his minions here and there. By Allah, I really pray that you guys wake up, because what's coming your way is not something that's gonna leave. Oh no, no, no. You may think Russia became democratic after the failure of the Soviet Union. I really advise you of rethinking that. And no, communism, when Lenin came into power and his brother Stalin and so on, they're there ever since, and they're still there now over a century. And they will not leave Russia until they have burned all of, if they have no choice but to be, if they're dislodged and they're pushed out of the country, you will see that they will burn it, just like Syria, because the regime in Syria is part of that world of sickos and psychos and so on. When they realized Syria was no longer theirs, and there was a time when they had, like, the vast majority of Syria was owned by the Sunni people, right, who are the majority, right, and the regime was shrinking and shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. It was like in a very small area in Damascus, right, and they all ran off, right. They burned it, right? They just burned it. They destroyed it, right? I am one of those who lost properties and buildings in there and so on. Oh, they destroyed everything that I have, right? And that's what's going to happen. Now, here's you, Scholz, and whoever you are. If you're thinking that Russia is a better solution for your country, I really hope you reconsider it. Communism, I mean, I really hope you reconsider. If you're part of that world, which looks like it, then disregard what I said. If you're not, or if you are, but then don't like what's happening, then leave. Just quit and leave and allow your people to defend themselves, right? Because if your country, if you're a true German and your country falls under Putin and then the horror begins, right? Guess what, right? Guess what? You're gonna blame yourself, maybe? I don't know. Folks, throw in the trash everything that Putin, Lindsey Graham, Netanyahu, and Trump and Ayatollah and Assad and Xi Jinping of China, throw in the trash all that they say. Now don't worry about it. Right now, your priority is to speed up your response. Like activate yourself against this menace, against this horror, this wave of horror that is moving in slowly but surely from the west, from the east. That's all I got to say about that guy. I can talk all you want, here all night long, but it doesn't make it won't make a difference, right? It'll only. I'm hopeful that I'm contributing something to waken you up, right? That's all I'm hoping for. But if they come to your way, forget that history of yours, the Vikings, the Germanics, the Armenios. Where's Armenius, right? Or Leo Arminius, right? Do you remember him? Oh, he was rebellious. He refused to succumb and submit to Rome. Do you remember that? Maybe you want to do that now, right? Or if you recall what they've done to your Berlin after the Soviets came into your Berlin, see that movie written by Anonymous called A Woman in Berlin. See what they did to your women back then. While they were raping them, they were spitting on their face, right? That's them. That's what's coming. They haven't changed. Not too long ago, the Russians shut down that MH370, I think, which was going traveling from Amsterdam to Malaysia or somewhere. And the main and the majority of the passengers, travelers, were Dutch, right? And then it fell right in that area where they are now. They shut it down with a Buk missile or something of the sort. Ask your Dutch people. Ask them what they've done there. Those Russians, they were looting the victims, searching for jewelry and wallets and things of the sort. Instead of covering them, instead of transferring them to hospitals, instead of giving them, if anybody is alive, give them aid and medical assistance and so on. No, they are looting them. That's them Russians, folks. They haven't changed. They will not change, right? And now you got yourself a Kadyrov, right? Now, basically, when the fight was going on in Chechnya, maybe you blamed the Chechens, right? And you were happy. These guys are Muslims. Well, look what you got yourself now instead, right? You got yourself a Kadyrov, right? What is he doing? You ask yourself that. He pretends to be a religious Muslim person. Oh, no. You have it all wrong. Anyways, so that's that on that front. So he threatened Finland and Sweden. What happened? He just changed his mind. Remember? Okay. That's it. Now let's go back. I got like a little bit of criticism on Jared Kushner. When MBS, MEBS or Mohammed bin Salman gave him the $2 billion plus, right, dollars, right, for investment. He said, and I quote, go back and check the record. He is on the record saying when he was discovered and there was some kind of an uproar in the American society, right? Why would this guy get $2 billion or whatever it is, right? He said, he declared, and I quote, that he was going to invest it in Israel. He just stated, like a month ago, I don't know, a few days ago, a week ago or something like that, that he is now looking out for beachfront properties in Gaza and that he wants to develop it and so on, but he wants Israel to remove those Palestinians. 2 million plus, right? This is pre-planned, folks. MBS knew, and he knew that Gaza will be cleared out from its inhabitants. They knew that is what they prepared for. They prepared for investment in Gaza after MBS and Jared Kushner, that's the son of Law and Trump, and Netanyahu and the leadership of Hamas, right? They knew it's coming. So that's Jared said he was going to invest it in Gaza. Well, go check him out. He's on the record, right? Folks, what's happening in Gaza was not started on October 7th. Oh no. October 7th operation was carried out by the leadership and founders of Hamas, who are in fact an arm of the Mossad, to commence the cleansing of Gaza, right? Ethnic cleansing of Gaza, or religious persecution of people in Gaza, right? Doesn't seem to be working for me, the way I see it, it doesn't seem to be working, right? Israel has suffered the most damage so far throughout their existence from 1948 until now. This war has caused them and, the entire Jewish religion. Now people are looking at them and seeing what's going on there. And although they may not know the fine details of what's happening and why it's happening this way, but they're like looking at it now and seeing that Israel is basically starving. And, I mean, basically now, it's not just a gulag. It's an Auschwitz. It's almost an Auschwitz camp, right? You know, Gaza is now, you know, the starvation, the killing, the bombardment. I look at it and there's not a street that hasn't been hit, and then the buildings are down and so on. Just think about it, folks. Just think about it. So, so that was pre-planned. MBS gave the $2 billion, and Kushner said back then that he was going to invest it in Israel. And now he states where in Israel, or let's say in Gaza, he wants to invest it at. He said it, right? So that was pre-planned. You can blame the Palestinians. My Sunni Palestinians have nothing to do with it. They didn't even want to do that, right? They didn't even want to have conflict, right? At any rate, you guys in that, you by his words now, you will be committing the same mistake as that of Ukraine, accepting the ceasefire, you know, accepting the guarantee of sovereignty and so on by Putin, and then delivering their weapons. And they stopped manufacturing weapons, right? They don't even manufacture weapons. And the results of that, the consequences of that, well, you see, it's been since 2014, but lately, oh, look, you guys don't see, but go look at the cities along the area where Russians are in Ukraine. That's it, folks. That's all I got to say. You procrastinate, you become lax and relax and sit back and watch TV. Things are gonna come your way. Believe me. Believe me. If Ukraine fails, it will be a matter of time before the entire of the European countries are gone, basically. This guy intends to destroy NATO, and so is Trump. Not just unravel it and allow it to disband. Oh, no, no, no. No, you don't understand. You don't understand. No, no, no. These guys have bad intentions toward you, and you will realize it if you don't go fight him now. Right now. Don't worry about what everybody else says. This is your very own existence. Don't let anyone else come and lecture you on what to do and what not to do, right? This is in the moment of be or not be, to be or not to be. That's it. To be or not to be, right? What do you think you're gonna do? You're gonna all, like from Scandinavia and Germanic countries, you're gonna swim to Canada? They're not gonna get you. They're not gonna receive you. Nor will the United States. Neither can you do that, right? Do you remember Nazism? What did Nazism do to you, right? Believe me, folks, Nazism still rules Germany even now. Different face, different clothes. They just changed the powerhouse of the country, right? Turned it upside down. Let's put it this way: they decapitated Germany, the Germany that was there since Armenia's, right? Or even before. They just decapitated it and that stuff. Right now, Germany, you know, the German citizen just, you know, efficient and lives for the day and so on and so forth. And Germany serves Netanyahu. That's all there is to it. And who was it? It was Nazism. That very same, the twin of communism. Have a nice day. And that's all I can say. If you now convince yourself that Putin is earnest and honest, that's a fatal mistake, folks. That's a fatal mistake. Bye now.